The unusual encounter. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over the quiet town of Millbrook. Edward Paul locked up his workshop, brushing the last traces of grease off his hands and feeling the exhaustion settle in. It was another evening spent fixing up battered engines, making them roar back to life, but the repetitive cycle was wearing thin. The clock in his workshop read 6:30 p.m., and the streets of Millbrook were already quiet, lined with the same neat houses, the same sleepy shops, and the same familiar faces. As he made his way to his small apartment above Gus's hardware, he spotted a flyer on the building's notice board. Millbrook Annual Flea Market, tonight only. Edward sighed, running a hand through his hair. He didn't have any particular interest in knickknacks, but something in him stirred. Maybe it was just the craving for a change from the ordinary, a chance to experience something different, however small. He grabbed his keys, feeling a strange pull to go. The town square was lively, bustling with activity as families, kids, and elderly couples meandered through the stalls. Edward wandered past tables weighed down by a hodgepodge of items: dusty vinyl records, worn-out paperbacks, vintage cameras, and an assortment of odd antiques. His hand brushed over a set of old tools, lingering as he admired their age-worn handles, but his attention shifted as a gleam caught his eye. An old man sat at a lone table in the far corner, watching Edward with an intensity that made him feel as though he'd been expected. The man had a white beard that cascaded down to his chest, his eyes bright and sharp, far too alive for his frail appearance. Edward approached, unable to shake the feeling that this man was somehow waiting for him. "Anything catch your eye, son?" the man asked, his voice gruff yet kind. "Just browsing," Edward replied with a shrug. His gaze flicked over the table, and his breath caught as he spotted a small, vibrant bottle, like a tiny universe contained in glass. It shimmered with an otherworldly light, swirling with colors he couldn't name. The old man noticed Edward's fascination and smiled knowingly. $20, and it's yours, he said, holding up the bottle. "Something about you tells me this is meant for you." Edward hesitated, torn between his curiosity and the oddity of the moment. But the old man's gaze held a warmth that was hard to ignore, and before he knew it, Edward was reaching into his wallet, handing over a crumpled $20 bill. The bottle felt warm, almost alive, in his hands. He looked up to thank the man, but the entire stall had vanished. Bewildered, Edward scanned the square, but there was no trace of the mysterious old vendor. The bottle, however, remained in his hands, pulsing faintly with a light he could only describe as cosmic. Shaking off the weirdness, he pocketed the bottle and headed home, his thoughts buzzing with curiosity. In his apartment, under the stark glow of his kitchen light, the bottle's intricate patterns came to life. Symbols twisted and turned across the surface, patterns unlike anything he'd seen, almost like constellations. He reached out, tracing the lines with a finger, and felt a jolt of static shock. The bottle shuddered in his hand, and before he could react, the cap flew off with a resounding pop. A brilliant flash of light filled the room, blinding him momentarily. When his vision cleared, he stumbled back, his heart racing. Floating before him was a woman, not quite human, but something otherworldly. Her skin glowed with a soft, electric blue, and her eyes held entire galaxies within them. Her hair flowed around her in an ethereal halo, defying gravity. Edward could only stare, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The being tilted her head, studying him with curiosity, her gaze almost piercing through him. "I am Alara, a quantum djinn bound to the bottle you now hold," she said, her voice resonating with a strange musical harmony. "By the ancient laws, I am bound to grant you 3 wishes." Edward blinked, still processing the scene before him. His brain struggled to catch up with his eyes. A genie, 3 wishes, this couldn't be real. "Wait, what?" he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Are you serious?" Alara's lips curved in a gentle smile, though there was a touch of sadness in her gaze. I understand your skepticism, mortal, but reality is often more complex than it appears. Yes, I am a djinn, and yes, you have awakened me. By cosmic law, I am bound to fulfill 3 of your desires. 100 thoughts raced through Edward's mind. Wishes. He could ask for anything. A better life, endless riches, the power to fix anything with a single touch. But as the initial rush faded, a sense of caution crept in. There must be a catch, he said, crossing his arms. What's the fine print here? Alara's expression softened, as though she respected his hesitation. Indeed, there are limitations. I cannot alter the will of another, raise the dead, or directly harm anyone. Furthermore, I must caution you. Wishes can often twist themselves, bringing unexpected outcomes. Be wise, Edward Paul. The weight of her words settled over him, and Edward nodded slowly. As tempting as the idea of endless possibilities was, he couldn't shake the feeling that these wishes came with strings attached. The last thing he wanted was to cause chaos or regret a poorly worded wish. What happens after the 3 wishes? He asked, curiosity getting the better of him. Alara's gaze turned somber. Once my duty is fulfilled, I return to the bottle to wait for another summoner, bound by ancient laws that even I cannot break. The idea of this powerful, fascinating being confined to a tiny bottle for eternity didn't sit right with him. He looked at her, genuinely curious. Doesn't that seem wrong? Don't you have a way to break free? Alara's eyes widened, surprised by his question. Few mortals would ask such a thing. Most seek only to exploit our power, not question our freedom. Edward shrugged, a hint of embarrassment coloring his cheeks. I mean, everyone deserves a choice, right? A faint glimmer of emotion crossed her face, a mix of sadness and hope. There is a way, though it has been attempted by only a handful of mortals in history. It would require a binding of essences, a marriage between you and me. Such a union would free me from my bottle, but tether my power to your mortal form. It is a complex pact and requires trust beyond what many are capable of. Edward's mouth went dry. A binding? Marriage? With a djinn? The implications swirled around him, leaving him speechless. Part of him was overwhelmed at the thought, but the deeper part of him was intrigued. Alara was unlike anyone he'd ever met, an enigma he wanted to unravel. He shook his head, trying to ground himself. I think I need some time to process all this. It's a lot. Alara nodded, her gaze warm with understanding. Take your time, Edward. Rushed wishes often lead to regret. The clock on his wall chimed midnight, and Alara's form began to shimmer. Edward felt a pang of disappointment, an odd sensation for someone he'd only just met. Do you have to go? He asked, surprising himself with the question. I am bound to the bottle without an active wish, she replied, sadness flickering in her cosmic eyes. But call for me, and I will come to you. Always. Edward watched as she dissolved into a swirl of stardust, her essence returning to the bottle. Alone in his kitchen, he stared at the glowing glass, feeling an unfamiliar longing. For the first time in a long while, he felt like his life had cracked open, allowing a hint of something new and extraordinary to slip through. And he couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The weight of choices. The glow of the bottle illuminated Edward's kitchen, casting soft shadows against the walls. After Alara vanished, he stood in silence, processing the surreal conversation. A Genie, 3 wishes, a potential marriage to an otherworldly being. It all felt like a dream, one he might wake from any moment. But the warmth of the bottle in his hands grounded him in reality, and he knew he had to think carefully about what lay ahead. As he paced the small room, Edward's thoughts spiraled. He thought of all the things he could wish for: wealth, adventure, even the power to fix every machine he ever touched. But the weight of those choices pressed heavily on his mind. What if he wished for something trivial? What if he ruined everything? He glanced out the window, the moon casting a silver sheen over the quiet town. Millbrook looked peaceful, but inside he felt restless. The monotony of his life had been suffocating, Yet the idea of making a wish that could spiral out of control was daunting. He sank into a chair, the bottle resting on the table in front of him like an eager pet waiting for a command. "What do you truly want?" he whispered to himself, half expecting an answer. The bottle remained silent, yet the air around him buzzed with energy, as if Alara was still present in some ethereal way. He recalled their conversation, her easy laughter, the depth of her gaze, the way she spoke of her existence. The notion of a cosmic marriage stirred something within him, a longing for connection that went beyond the mundane. But was he ready for such a commitment? He had always been a solitary figure, preferring the company of tools and engines to that of people. The thought of asking Alara to be his wife hung in the air, both thrilling and terrifying. What if he didn't wish for her freedom? What if he didn't even make a wish? Would she fade away completely, leaving him with nothing but a bottle and a lingering sense of regret? A noise from outside broke his reverie, a car engine sputtering, a familiar sound. Edward's heart raced. It was his neighbor, Mark, the aspiring mechanic who always borrowed tools and offered the occasional beer in return. Edward had often admired Mark's enthusiasm, a stark contrast to his own growing cynicism. As the sound of the engine died down, an idea sparked in Edward's mind. Perhaps sharing his experience could help him sort through his feelings. Maybe I should talk to Mark, he mused, standing up. He needed a sounding board, someone to help him navigate this unusual situation. Grabbing the bottle, he decided to head downstairs. In the lobby of Gus's Hardware, the old wooden stairs creaked under his weight. Edward could hear Mark rummaging through the garage, likely searching for the tools he'd borrowed earlier. As he reached the door, he hesitated, then pushed it open, ready to dive into the conversation. "Hey, Edward, you're just in time. I think I finally got the old Jeep running," Mark exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear, his grease-stained shirt clinging to his frame. The garage was a chaotic mess of tools, parts, and a half-dismantled engine. "Nice work," Edward said, his mood lifting. "You've been working on that thing for weeks." Mark nodded, his enthusiasm infectious. "Yeah, want to see?" As they moved to the Jeep, Edward felt a sense of camaraderie he hadn't realized he'd missed. It reminded him of the joy he felt while working on his own projects. For a moment, he let the weight of the bottle slip from his mind. After a brief demonstration of the Jeep's engine, they sat on the tailgate, catching up. Edward shared snippets of his work, and Mark eagerly recounted his latest projects, his dreams of building a custom vehicle from scratch. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and Edward felt a sense of normalcy return. "Hey, what's up with you lately? You seem a bit off," Mark finally said, glancing sideways at Edward. Edward hesitated, contemplating whether to share the bizarre encounter with Alara. "It's just, I found something interesting at the flea market," he began, pulling out the bottle. "I think it might be a Genie's bottle." Mark's eyes widened, a grin breaking across his face. "No way. Like, a real Genie?" "Yeah, sort of. She says I have 3 wishes." Edward watched as Mark leaned closer, eyes glimmering with excitement. "Dude, that's epic. What are you going to wish for?" Mark asked, bouncing on the tailgate like a child. "That's the thing," Edward replied, running a hand through his hair. "I'm not sure. I've been thinking about it, and I don't want to waste them." Mark frowned slightly, his enthusiasm dimming. "You're worried about what to wish for? Man, just go for it. You could wish for $1,000,000 or, I don't know, a sweet new garage." Edward chuckled, but the laughter felt hollow. "It's not that simple. What if I wish for something and it goes wrong? I don't want to end up regretting it." Mark shrugged, his expression turning serious. "But you have to make a choice eventually. You can't let fear hold you back from something amazing. What if it turns out even better than you expect?" Edward contemplated his friend's words. There was wisdom in them, but the pressure of the situation weighed heavily on him. "You're right. I need to decide soon. I want to be careful. I don't want to trap her or mess anything up." Mark nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. You care about her, don't you? This Jinn. Edward felt a warmth spread through him at the thought. Yeah, I guess I do. It's strange though. I barely know her. Sometimes it's not about how long you've known someone. It's about the connection you feel, Mark said, nudging Edward playfully. You're a good guy, Edward. If you want to help her, then do it. Just think about what you really want in your life. As the conversation continued, Edward felt a sense of clarity slowly breaking through the fog in his mind. Maybe he didn't need to have everything figured out right now. Perhaps he could approach this step by step, allowing his feelings for Alara to guide him. That night, Edward returned to his apartment with a renewed sense of purpose. He placed the bottle on the table, the cosmic glow bathing the room in ethereal light. He sat down, fingers hovering over its surface, contemplating the possibilities. What do I truly want? He murmured, staring into the swirling depths of the bottle. A better life, an adventure, a partner. He took a deep breath, letting the weight of his thoughts settle. In that moment, he realized that this wasn't just about wishing for things. It was about understanding his own desires, confronting the monotony of his existence, and possibly finding a way to free Alara from her constraints. What if, he began slowly, I wish for something more profound? What if I wished for the ability to create, to inspire others? What if I wished for the strength to change my life and hers? The bottle pulsed under his touch, as if it responded to his thoughts. Edward's heart raced at the realization that he had the power to shape his own destiny. He was no longer just a mechanic in a small town. He had the opportunity to forge a connection with something extraordinary, something that could change the course of his life. Tomorrow, he decided, I'll talk to Alara again. I'll ask her more questions and find out what I really want. I won't rush into this. With that thought in mind, he closed his eyes, allowing the swirling colors of the bottle to seep into his dreams, a promise of the adventures that lay ahead. As the night wore on, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him, a spark that hinted at a future filled with possibility. Little did Edward know that the next encounter with Alara would challenge everything he thought he understood about wishes, choices, and the nature of true connection. The journey was just beginning, and the path would be filled with unexpected twists and turns, testing his resolve and illuminating his heart. The first wish. Morning light filtered through Edward's window, illuminating the small kitchen in soft hues of gold. The bottle sat on the table, still glowing faintly as if it had absorbed the night's dreams. Edward blinked awake, memories of his conversation with Alara flooding back. The weight of his choices pressed upon him. He needed to understand not just what he wanted, but what it meant to make a wish that could potentially change everything. As he brewed his morning coffee, Edward's mind raced with possibilities. Today he would call upon Alara again. The thought both excited and terrified him. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was on the brink of something far more significant, an intersection of mortal desires and cosmic possibilities. After a quick breakfast, he felt a surge of determination. All right, let's see what this Genie business is all about, he murmured to himself, grabbing the bottle. He set it down on the table and with a deep breath opened it. A blinding light filled the room, and the familiar shimmer coalesced into the figure of Alara. She materialized gracefully, her electric blue glow illuminating the space with an almost surreal beauty. Edward Paul, she greeted, her voice resonating like distant chimes. You have summoned me once more. Have you made a decision regarding your wishes? Edward swallowed hard, feeling a mix of awe and apprehension. I have some ideas, but I want to understand this better first. What happens when I make a wish? How does it work? Alara nodded, her expression thoughtful. Wishes are woven from the fabric of existence, a blend of your desires and the infinite possibilities of the universe. When you wish, you channel your intent, and I manipulate the energy to fulfill it. However, the outcomes can be unpredictable. It is crucial to articulate your wishes with clarity and precision. Edward nodded, trying to absorb her words. So, it's not just about what I want, but how I ask for it. That makes sense. Exactly, Alara replied, her eyes sparkling like distant stars. Many mortals fail to grasp the nuances, leading to unforeseen consequences. You must consider the broader impact of your wishes, not only on yourself, but on the world around you. Feeling the weight of her wisdom, Edward took a moment to gather his thoughts. I don't want to be selfish. I want my wishes to mean something. I want to help you too. I just don't know where to start. A smile played at the corners of Alara's lips, illuminating her otherworldly beauty. Your compassion is commendable, Edward. Not many mortals contemplate the implications of their desires. It speaks to the depth of your character. His heart swelled at her praise, but he still felt unsure. What if I wished for something simple, like fixing my life? You know, a better job or more money. Alara's expression turned serious. Such wishes can lead to unexpected turns. Wealth may bring power, but it can also attract greed and jealousy. A better job might lead to stress or dissatisfaction if it does not align with your true passion. Consider what truly fulfills you. Edward paused, her words resonating deep within him. He had spent his life fixing cars and machines, but he always felt a yearning for something more. What if he wished for the ability to create, to inspire others? What if I wished for the strength and creativity to change my life and others for the better? Alara's eyes widened, reflecting a kaleidoscope of colors. Now you are thinking with intention. That is a noble wish. Edward felt a flicker of excitement. But what does that mean? How would I know if I truly had that strength and creativity? It is not just about having power or talent. It is about recognizing and nurturing those qualities within yourself. You would have the ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You could inspire those around you to pursue their dreams and tackle challenges with resilience, Alara explained, her voice filled with warmth. Feeling the weight of his potential wish, Edward nodded. All right, I want to wish for the strength and creativity to change my life and help others. Are you certain? Alara asked, her tone becoming serious. This is not a fleeting desire. It will require commitment and courage on your part. Edward took a deep breath, the gravity of the moment settling over him. Yes, I'm sure. I want to make a difference, not just for myself but for others too. Alara studied him, her expression unreadable. Very well. Prepare yourself, Edward Paul. When I grant this wish, your perception of the world will shift, and you will face challenges that will test your resolve. You must embrace the changes that come. I understand, he said, feeling a surge of determination. I'm ready. With a graceful wave of her hand, Alara summoned a wave of energy that enveloped Edward in a cocoon of shimmering light. He felt a rush of warmth and power surge through him, filling him with an intoxicating sense of possibility. The world around him blurred for a moment, and then he was back in his kitchen, breathless and invigorated. Edward, Alara said, her voice cutting through the remnants of the magical haze, your wish has been granted. You now possess the strength and creativity to forge your own path and inspire others. Use this gift wisely. As the light faded, Edward felt different, more alive, more attuned to the world around him. The once muted colors of his kitchen seemed to glow with vibrancy. He could see the potential in every corner, every tool, and every piece of machinery. It was as if a new layer of reality had been unveiled. Wow, he breathed, his heart racing. I can feel it. This is incredible. Alara's gaze softened. Remember though, the journey ahead will not always be easy. Embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. I will, Edward promised, his mind racing with possibilities. Thank you, Alara. You've given me so much more than just a wish. With a gentle smile, Alara began to dissolve into mist. I will always be near, Edward. Call upon me whenever you need guidance or support. As she vanished, Edward felt a swell of gratitude. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a creator, a potential force for change. But the weight of his next two wishes loomed over him. What should he wish for next? He didn't want to squander this gift. Over the following days, Edward explored his newfound strength and creativity. He approached his work with fresh eyes, finding innovative solutions to long-standing problems. Old engines that had once resisted his efforts now yielded to his touch, transforming into machines that purred with life. He felt a growing sense of satisfaction in his work, but he also wanted to extend his impact beyond his workshop. One afternoon, he decided to visit the local community center. Millbrook had always been home to aspiring mechanics and inventors, but many lacked the resources and guidance to pursue their passions. As he entered, he saw a group of kids gathered around a makeshift workshop, struggling to fix a broken bike. "Hey, need some help?" Edward called out, his heart racing with excitement. The kids looked up, eyes wide with curiosity. "Can you really fix it?" one of them asked, hope shining in his eyes. Edward grinned. "Absolutely. Let's see what we can do together." As he worked alongside the children, he felt the strength of his wish manifesting in tangible ways. They laughed, shared ideas, and tackled the challenges as a team. Edward realized that this was what he had been missing: connection, collaboration, and the joy of inspiring others. "Thanks, mister. You're awesome," one of the kids exclaimed as they completed the bike. Edward beamed with pride. "You all did an amazing job. Remember, you have the creativity to solve any problem." As he left the community center that day, a sense of purpose filled him. He had started to change lives, including his own. But as he walked home, the weight of his next wishes pressed on his mind. He needed to be deliberate, to consider how he could best utilize the power he had been granted. That night, sitting at his kitchen table with the bottle beside him, Edward contemplated his future. He knew he had to be strategic about his remaining wishes, especially if he wanted to free Alara from her bottle. What could he wish for that would not only benefit himself, but also help her gain her freedom? What if I wished for knowledge? He pondered aloud. Knowledge that could empower not just me, but anyone who needed it. The thought lingered in the air, bright and enticing. Knowledge could open doors, fuel creativity, and create opportunities. But would it truly be enough to set Alara free? As he weighed his options, he realized that he had to look beyond his immediate desires. His first wish had transformed him, and he needed to use the next wishes to create lasting change. He wanted to ensure Alara didn't return to the bottle forever. With a renewed sense of purpose, Edward leaned back in his chair. Tomorrow, he decided, I'll reach out to Alara again. I'll find a way to make the next wishes count. As he closed his eyes, the shimmering glow of the bottle illuminated the room, a promise of the adventures and challenges yet to come. Edward Paul was ready to take on the world, one wish at a time. The quest for knowledge. The morning sun poured through Edward's kitchen window, filling the room with warmth and light. He awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, his thoughts racing with possibilities for his next wish. After granting him the strength and creativity to change his life, Edward knew he had to make his second wish count, both for himself and for Alara. With determination, he reached for the shimmering bottle resting on the table. "Alara," he called, feeling the energy of the room shift in anticipation. "I wish to speak with you." The air shimmered, and within moments, Alara appeared, her ethereal presence brightening the space. "Edward Paul, you have summoned me again. What is it that you wish to discuss?" "I've been thinking about my next wish," Edward said, his heart pounding with excitement and trepidation. "I want to wish for knowledge, knowledge that empowers me and others. I want to be able to understand the mechanics of everything, to solve problems that seem impossible." Alara's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "A noble wish indeed, but you must consider what knowledge truly entails. It is not merely the accumulation of facts or skills. It is the understanding of the interconnectedness of all things and the wisdom to apply that knowledge for the greater good." "I get that," Edward replied, feeling the weight of her words. "But I want it to be practical knowledge. I want to fix not just machines, but also the lives of the people around me." "Knowledge is a powerful tool," Alara continued, "but it requires a careful hand. Are you prepared to bear the responsibility that comes with such wisdom? The ability to influence others is a double-edged sword. Edward took a deep breath, considering her words. I think so. I want to use this knowledge to inspire and uplift people. It's not just about me anymore. It's about everyone. A slow smile spread across Alara's face, a blend of admiration and caution. Very well, Edward. If you choose this path, you must also embrace the challenges that come with it. You will encounter situations that test your resolve, ethical dilemmas that will force you to choose wisely. Are you ready for that? I am, Edward affirmed, his heart racing with determination. I want to help people, my community, the kids at the center, and even you, Alara. I want to set you free. As he uttered the last words, he felt a sudden surge of energy radiate from the bottle. The air crackled with anticipation, and he knew the moment had come. I wish for the knowledge and wisdom to empower myself and others to understand and solve complex problems, and to use that knowledge to bring about positive change in the world. The bottle glowed brightly, illuminating the kitchen as if the very essence of knowledge was being funneled into him. Edward felt a rush of information flood his mind, concepts, ideas, skills, and insights that had once felt out of reach began to crystallize into understanding. It was overwhelming yet exhilarating, like drinking from a fire hose. As the light dimmed, he blinked, trying to process the vast array of knowledge now at his fingertips. What just happened? He asked, breathless. You have awakened the wellspring of knowledge within you, Alara explained, her voice melodic and soothing. This knowledge is a gift, but it also requires your commitment to learning, sharing, and applying it wisely. It is a lifelong journey, and how you wield it will shape not only your future, but also the futures of those around you. Edward felt a thrill of excitement mingled with anxiety. I can feel it, like 1,000 ideas swirling in my head, but what do I do with it now? Begin by embracing your curiosity, Alara advised, her cosmic gaze steady. Seek out opportunities to learn and grow. Use your newfound insights to inspire those who wish to learn from you. Edward nodded, determination surging through him. I'll do just that. I want to share this knowledge with the kids at the community center and anyone else who could use it. I want to be a mentor. Excellent, Alara said, her voice filled with warmth. Your heart is in the right place. But remember, knowledge is not simply about imparting information. It is also about nurturing creativity and critical thinking. Encourage others to ask questions and seek their own answers. With newfound clarity, Edward began to envision how he would implement his wish. Over the next few days, he dove into his work with renewed vigor. He revisited the community center, now equipped with a deeper understanding of mechanics and engineering principles. He initiated workshops, sharing his knowledge with the eager children and young adults who gathered, hungry for guidance and inspiration. Today, we're going to build something together, he announced one Saturday, excitement crackling in the air. The kids, a diverse group ranging from curious teens to young children, looked at him with wide eyes, their interest piqued. What are we building, Mr. Edward? One of the older kids asked, her voice tinged with enthusiasm. Let's start with something fun. How about a simple robot? Edward replied, a grin spreading across his face. We'll learn about circuits and mechanics while we do it. As he began explaining the basics of circuits, he felt a connection with the kids. They were engaged, asking questions, and bouncing ideas off each other. Edward guided them through the process, encouraging creativity and problem-solving at every turn. One boy, Liam, struggled with his wiring. I can't get it to work, he exclaimed, frustration etched on his face. Edward knelt beside him, ready to offer support. Let's take a look together. Remember, every mistake is a chance to learn something new. What happens if we change this connection? Liam's eyes brightened as he began to understand. Oh, so if I switch these around... Exactly. Let's see what happens, Edward encouraged. With every successful connection made and every robot brought to life, Edward saw the spark of creativity ignite in his young proteges. They were learning to think critically, to embrace challenges, and to take pride in their work. It was fulfilling, and he could feel the impact of his wish unfolding before him. As the weeks passed, the community center transformed into a hub of creativity and innovation. Word spread, and more kids began to attend, eager to learn from the robot maker. Edward felt a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing that he was making a difference in their lives. However, amidst the joy and success, Edward couldn't shake the nagging thought of Alara's freedom. He still had one wish left, and he wanted to use it wisely. Each time he summoned her, he felt a connection grow stronger, a bond that transcended their initial meeting. He knew he had to free her, but he wanted to ensure he was making the right choice. One evening, after a particularly successful workshop, Edward sat down with the bottle once more. "Alara," he called, eager to discuss the final wish. The familiar shimmering light filled the room as she materialized before him. "Edward Paul, you seem to have thrived with your newfound knowledge," she remarked, a hint of pride in her tone. "I feel different in a good way," he said, his excitement evident. "But I still have one wish left, and I want to make it count. I want to free you, but I need to understand what that truly means." Alara's expression turned serious, her gaze unwavering. "To free me is to bind our destinies together in a way that transcends the norms of mortal and jinn relationships. You would grant me a life beyond this bottle, and in return, I would share my essence with you, granting you access to the cosmic knowledge I possess." Edward felt a thrill of fear and excitement at the implications. What would that mean for us? Would we be partners? Would you still be able to help others? "Indeed," Alara replied. "I would no longer be bound by cosmic laws, but would instead exist as a companion and ally. Together, we could continue to create and inspire, forging a new path that intertwines our destinies." His heart raced at the thought. "But what about your powers? Would they change? Would you still be the same, Alara?" Her smile was soft, but her eyes held a depth of wisdom. "I would retain my abilities, but they would be tempered by the bond we share. We would be stronger together, our combined knowledge amplifying our impact on the world." Edward took a moment to digest her words. The decision weighed heavily on him. "I don't want to rush into this. It's a big step, and I want to make sure it's what we both want." "Take your time," Alara said, her voice gentle. "This is a journey of mutual understanding. Think about what you desire and how we can work together to make a lasting impact." As she spoke, Edward felt the flicker of inspiration within him. He could see a future where they could collaborate, combining human ingenuity with cosmic wisdom. The possibilities were endless, and he felt a sense of excitement at the thought of what they could accomplish together. That night, as he prepared for bed, Edward reflected on his journey thus far. He had transformed not only his life, but also the lives of those around him. And now, he stood on the brink of something extraordinary, an opportunity to create a lasting legacy. As he drifted off to sleep, the glow of the bottle illuminated the room, a promise of the adventures yet to come. Edward Paul was ready to embrace the future, armed with knowledge, creativity, and the possibility of a bond that could change everything. The union of worlds. Edward awoke to the soft light of dawn filtering through his window, feeling a surge of anticipation in his chest. Today, he would confront the weight of his final wish. The events of the past few weeks had transformed him, and he could feel the energy of possibility crackling in the air. He had cultivated knowledge and creativity, shared them with his community, and established connections with the kids he had mentored. But the thought of freeing Alara lingered in his mind, a powerful reminder of the bond they were forming. As he prepared for the day, Edward felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. What would it mean to wish for Alara's freedom? Would it change their dynamic? Would she still want to help him, to guide him, or would they become something entirely new? He could hardly contain the swirling questions as he poured his morning coffee. Sipping the rich brew, he glanced at the bottle on the table, its light pulsing gently. "Alara, he called, his heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. The familiar glow enveloped the room, and she materialized, her form shimmering with cosmic energy. "Edward Paul," she greeted, her voice melodic and soothing. "You seem contemplative today. What weighs upon your mind?" He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "I thought long and hard about my final wish. I want to free you. I want us to be partners in creating something extraordinary." Alara's expression softened, a mixture of surprise and warmth in her cosmic gaze. "A profound wish indeed. To free me is to bind our fates together, creating a union that transcends the typical mortal and jinn relationship. Are you prepared for that responsibility?" Edward nodded, his resolve firm. "I am. I've seen the difference we can make together. I want to share our journeys, to inspire more people, and to forge a path that combines our strengths." "Such a bond would be a powerful commitment," Alara replied, her tone serious yet encouraging. "If you wish to proceed, know that it will alter the very fabric of our existence. We will be forever intertwined, sharing knowledge, experiences, and a deeper understanding of the universe." "Then let's do it," Edward said, determination flooding his voice. "I wish for you to be free from your bottle, and for us to be united as partners in this journey of creation and discovery." As he spoke the words, the air around them vibrated with energy. Alara raised her hands, and a radiant light enveloped them both, swirling with hues of blue, gold, and silver. Edward felt a surge of warmth and connection, as if the very essence of the cosmos was pouring into him. "Embrace this moment, Edward," Alara's voice echoed around him. "Our destinies are now intertwined." The light intensified, and Edward felt his consciousness expanding, merging with Alara's cosmic energy. In that instant, he experienced the vastness of the universe, the swirling galaxies, the birth of stars, and the intricate tapestry of existence. He felt Alara's wisdom, her millennia of experiences, flooding into him, enriching his understanding of the world. As the light began to fade, Edward found himself back in his kitchen, breathless and awestruck. Alara stood before him, her form still radiant but now more grounded, as if she had truly become part of his world. "Welcome, Edward Paul," she said, her voice filled with a newfound resonance. "We are now bound by a union of knowledge and purpose. Together, we will create, inspire, and foster change." Edward's heart raced with exhilaration. "This is incredible. I can feel the connection between us. It's like I can see the world through a different lens." "Indeed," Alara replied, her eyes sparkling with cosmic energy. "With our combined essence, we will manifest ideas and solutions that transcend the ordinary. But remember, with this power comes the responsibility to wield it wisely." "I will," he promised, feeling a surge of determination. "I want to use this gift to help others, to make a difference in their lives, just as you've made a difference in mine." "Then let us begin," Alara said, her voice filled with excitement. "We will craft a new project together, one that embodies our union and serves the community." With that, the two of them set to work. Edward felt invigorated by Alara's presence, her insights enhancing his creativity. They brainstormed ideas, melding their thoughts into a tapestry of possibilities. They envisioned a community workshop, a place where people of all ages could come together to learn, create, and innovate. "I want it to be a hub for creativity," Edward said, his eyes sparkling with inspiration. "A space where anyone can explore their interests, whether it's mechanics, art, or technology." Alara nodded, her enthusiasm palpable. "A wonderful idea. We can host workshops, invite experts, and encourage collaboration. This will empower individuals to pursue their passions and cultivate their skills." They spent days planning, gathering materials, and connecting with local artisans and innovators. The community began to buzz with excitement as news of the new workshop spread. Edward felt a sense of fulfillment as he witnessed the impact of their vision coming to life. On the day of the grand opening, Edward stood before a crowd of eager faces, his heart pounding with anticipation. The workshop was filled with tables of tools, art supplies, and computers, all ready to inspire creativity. "Welcome, everyone," he called out, his voice ringing with enthusiasm. "This workshop is for you. It's a space to explore, to create, and to learn. Together, we can build something amazing." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Edward's spirit soared. He looked over at Alara, who stood by his side, her presence radiating warmth and energy. They had embarked on this journey together, and he could feel the bond between them growing stronger. As the first workshop began, Edward guided participants through a project, sharing the knowledge and insights he had gained. He encouraged questions, fostered collaboration, and celebrated the creative process. The room buzzed with energy, laughter, and excitement, and Edward felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "Remember, everyone," he said, his voice ringing out over the noise. "Every mistake is a chance to learn. Embrace the challenges, and don't be afraid to experiment." After the first session, as the crowd began to disperse, Edward felt a rush of joy. He had created something meaningful, a space where people could come together, learn, and grow. The potential for creativity and innovation felt limitless. As they cleaned up the workshop, Alara approached him, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You have done well, Edward. This space will serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration for many." "Thank you, Alara," he said, his heart full. "I couldn't have done this without you. You show me what's possible when we unite our strengths." "But remember," she replied, her tone turning serious, "the path ahead will still hold challenges. Many will seek knowledge and guidance, but some may also misunderstand our intentions. It is essential to navigate these waters with wisdom and compassion." Edward nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "I will. I want to be a positive force in the community, but I know that not everyone will embrace our ideas." "Trust in the strength of our bond," Alara said, her voice soothing. "Together, we can face any adversity, and as we inspire others, we will continue to learn and grow." In the weeks that followed, the workshop flourished. More and more people came to explore their creativity, share their talents, and collaborate on projects. Edward felt a sense of purpose driving him, a fire ignited by the knowledge and inspiration he and Alara had cultivated together. However, amidst the joy, Edward remained aware of the responsibility that came with their union. He knew they had the potential to create lasting change, but he also understood that the world was not always receptive to innovation. As they faced new challenges, he would need to rely on Alara's wisdom and his own instincts. One evening, as they sat in the workshop after hours, discussing future projects, Edward leaned back in his chair. "Alara, have you ever faced backlash from people when you shared your knowledge? How did you handle it?" She paused, considering his question. "Indeed, there have been many who resist change, who fear the unknown. But it is in those moments that the strength of conviction matters most. When faced with adversity, it is essential to listen, to empathize, and to find common ground." Edward nodded, absorbing her wisdom. "I see. So we need to be prepared to face skepticism and opposition. How can we ensure our message resonates?" "By being transparent and genuine in our intentions," Alara replied. "Show the community the benefits of collaboration and creativity. When they see the positive impact we create, their resistance will wane." With her guidance, Edward felt empowered to continue pushing forward. They decided to host an open house, inviting the community to experience the workshop firsthand. He wanted to show them what was possible through collaboration and creativity, to demonstrate the positive change that could arise from their union. As the day approached, excitement and anxiety mingled within him. Would the community embrace this new space? Would they see the value in creativity and collaboration? He felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. On the day of the open house, the workshop buzzed with anticipation. Edward greeted visitors with a warm smile, eager to share their vision. The walls were adorned with colorful artwork created by local artists, and tables were filled with projects in progress. "Welcome, everyone," Edward announced, his voice steady. "We're thrilled to have you here today. This workshop is a space for all of you to explore, create, and collaborate. Together, we can build something amazing. As people began to explore the workshop, Edward noticed a few skeptical faces in the crowd. A group of older residents stood off to the side, whispering among themselves. He approached them, wanting to understand their concerns. "Hello, I'm Edward," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "What do you think of the workshop?" One of the older men, his brow furrowed, crossed his arms. "It's nice and all, but what's the point? Kids these days need more than just a place to tinker. They need real jobs and practical skills, not just arts and crafts." Edward took a deep breath, reminding himself of Alara's words. "I understand your concerns, and I appreciate your honesty. This workshop isn't just about arts and crafts, it's about fostering creativity and critical thinking. We want to empower young people to pursue their passions and develop skills that can translate into real-world opportunities." Another woman from the group chimed in, her voice skeptical. "But how will you teach them real skills? What if they just play around and don't learn anything useful?" "I can assure you that we have plans for workshops that cover practical skills," Edward replied, his tone earnest. "We'll teach everything from mechanics to coding, and even entrepreneurship. It's about encouraging them to think outside the box and find their own paths." As he spoke, he saw a flicker of interest in their eyes, but skepticism lingered. "We've heard promises before," the older man said. "How do we know this won't just be another flash in the pan?" "Fair question," Edward acknowledged. "I understand that trust must be earned. I invite you to join us for our workshops, see for yourselves, and even provide feedback. This is a community effort, and your input is valuable." As they continued to talk, Edward felt a sense of hope. He was learning to navigate the complexities of community dynamics, understanding the importance of listening to concerns while articulating the vision they were building together. Later that day, as the open house drew to a close, Edward felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. He had faced skepticism head-on, and he felt a growing connection to the community he served. Alara stood by his side, her presence a constant source of strength and encouragement. "Today was a success," she said, her voice filled with pride. "You handled the challenges with grace and wisdom. The seeds of change are taking root." Edward nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Alara. I couldn't have done this without you. You've shown me the importance of partnership and the power of creativity." As they cleaned up the workshop, Edward realized that the journey was just beginning. With Alara by his side, he felt ready to tackle whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with knowledge, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to their shared vision. That night, as he lay in bed, Edward felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had forged a bond that transcended the ordinary, a partnership that would shape their destinies and empower others. As he drifted off to sleep, the stars outside twinkled brightly, mirroring the cosmic energy that now flowed between him and Alara. Together, they would continue to inspire change, fostering creativity and innovation in their community and beyond. The world was full of possibilities, and Edward felt ready to embrace them all.